Dibba 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 dib. Dibba 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 dib. Dooby 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 doo. Dooby 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 doo. Alright, quick throat singing lesson. Quick throat singing lesson. Now, you don't have to become a master throat singer, but there are some techniques that you can learn from throat singing that can really help to clear your throat out. You know, maybe if you're feeling a little bit gunked up. And the best way to start is with a nice, relaxed So find that sound and then pull it back into your throat. So it kind of goes like this. Professional throat singers refer to that sensation as the golden vibration. You can kind of feel it in your throat. It's that kind of So just focus on that vibration, and then you can start to learn how to make sounds. I would recommend starting with vowel sounds. A, E, I, O, U. It's the first time I'm doing it, and I didn't know I could do it. It's adjacent to gargling in the beginning. In the beginning, it's adjacent to gargling. Just a little bit of a vocal warm-up. You know, if you're going to be talking all day, whether you're a Twitch streamer, a public speaker, you're on the phone a lot, you know, do those vocal warm-ups. Your throat is a muscle. Give it a little stretch, give it a little warm-up. Gotta hydrate too. That's true. And my water is empty. That's something I'll worry about later. I have a couple other drinks here. I'm good. Welcome in, everybody. It's Saturday. It's a rainy day here. We woke up and the rain was just coming down. So it's a cold, rainy day. I'm making chicken soup today. And I'm trying to take my chicken soup game to the next level. And so I've been doing some research. One of the things that they will do in French cooking is to make a dark chicken stock. You roast your chicken bones first before you cook them in water. And so I did that. I was roasting chicken bones this morning. Let's make a nice tasty chicken stock. So yeah, we're making soup today. It's a soup kind of day. So it's gonna be a chicken noodle soup, but it's gonna be like dark broth. It's gonna be brown. All that roasted chicken flavor. I've been watching videos to learn how to baste eggs. I'm gonna try it soon. Like a sunny set. Oh yeah. Basted eggs are actually pretty easy. The trick with basting anything is you just have to take your pan and go like this. You like turn it a little bit and then take a spoon and just go. Throw the hot liquid, whether it's butter or oil or broth or whatever, and just. In the case of a basted egg, it's probably some type of butter or cooking oil. A good old basting. Yeah, it works really well for stuff like eggs, or it's also really nice to do with like if you're cooking a steak in a pan. Sometimes I like to baste my eggs because I'm too lazy to flip the eggs, and it's easier to just be like, let's just throw the hot oil on top of the egg, and that'll finish cooking it on top. That's the whole premise of basting. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty relaxed today. I've got some coffee here. I've got some chicken stock on the stove. I've been into making stocks lately. Like anytime I have to like chop up a chicken or, you know, do anything like that, I'm always saving the bits and the bones so that I can make a stock. Makes me feel like a real chef. I always break my eggs when I flip them. You know, that's just eggs. That's just eggs. It happens. Even like the only kitchen that I worked in for a little while, it was like a brunch breakfast type. So we had to make a lot of eggs. A lot of omelets. And the thing about flipping eggs is that sometimes you can do it perfectly and that yolk will just still be like, eh. One thing I did learn though there is the technique to like flip without a spatula. Just like I love it. I love it. I can still flip an omelet. It's like riding a bike. One day at Subway. Now that sounds like a story. That sounds like the title of a story. One day at Subway. I did it. I graduated. Oh, let's fucking go. Congratulations. You graduated from Brain Domain Moderator College. Are you ready to take up your sword? How are we feeling today? Graduations, that's exciting. The milestone moment. Take lots of pictures. No swords for me, I like my diamond. See, that's what they all say. I just can't get anybody to be a moderator in this channel. Everybody's like, hey, I'm good. I'm like, fine. Fine. But I feel like I need at least one more moderator. I might make Ding Dong Chan do it, if I'm being honest. I might make him do it. How do you get a diamond? Sometimes I just hand out diamonds. Sometimes I hand out diamonds once people have like been here for a while. Normally it's people who have been here with like at least like a year-long sub. Just people that I see around regularly. People who contribute to the conversations and stuff. You know, it's just a... You're working now? I heard. How's it been going? I missed the streams this week. Yeah, I sensed your absence. The vibes were different. We made it through. We made it through somehow. I thought the diamond made me special. It does make you special. That's what it's there for. It does mean you're special. Also, I covered that topic you recommended earlier, but I didn't see you here. So I just wanted to let you know. We did go over it. We'll have to check out the VOD. I quit Subway because they made me take out facial piercings and then told me they were just kidding, and I had to force them back into the closing holes. That's sick and twisted. I was doing a lot of cocaine and forgot stream. We've all been there. We've all done it. We were talking about that in another channel yesterday. I'd be an awful mod. I'd let almost anything pass, and I rarely pay attention to what's on anyway. I like a can-do attitude. I like a can-do attitude. All right, it's the weekend. The weekends are for Q&A. I like to focus on the Q&A on the weekends. You know, if we have some extra time, we might revisit an old presentation. Not sure what topic we'd cover yet, but we'll figure that out. But anyway, the weekend is for Q&A. So if you've got questions, drop them in the box. We got a couple questions in the box already. So we'll be sure to get those questions in. We'll be taking questions today. We're going to be working on the weekend. I am feeling peaceful today. I'm making soup. It's always a peaceful day when I'm making soup. Alright, Wheel. It's been real. What kind of soup? It's gonna be a chicken soup. I'm making a chicken stock right now using roasted chicken bones. Something I learned when I was going over some French cooking techniques. It's like, oh yeah, dark chicken stock. You roast the bones first. And then you take hot water and you scrape out all that chicken stuff that's on the bottom of the pan after you roast it. Gives you a nice, dark, rich chicken stock. It's gonna be good. Today I feel hopeful that it will be a good day. I am very concerned with how to get shrimp. Well, where's the nearest place to you that would have shrimp available? A shrimpery. You know, a grocery store works for most shrimp needs. If you're okay with frozen shrimp. You can even get frozen shrimp at Walmart or Aldi. What are you planning on doing with the shrimp? I hate frozen shrimp with all of my heart. Then you'll probably have to go to a place with a seafood counter. So you'll probably have to go to a grocery store. Frozen shrimp is only good when it's the kind you have to peel yourself. Or however you say. That's how we say. I just want a big bowl of grilled shrimp and some butter. Then make it happen. Then make it happen. You have what it takes to make it happen. So come up with a game plan. If you're only going to the store just for shrimp, you'll be in and out in 5 minutes. You can do anything for 5 minutes. You've earned that shrimp. Go get it. Alrighty, we've got some questions in the box, and I'm ready to get to work. So let's hop into it. Hope we're all having a good day today. It's the weekend, it's Saturday. Hope you're having a fantastic day. The issue is that we're having a very bad ice storm, trying to figure out if it is even safe to leave. Well, then in that case, shrimp may have to wait. Yeah, if everything's icing over outside, that's no good. Alrighty, we got a follow-up question. This one was from a while back, but I do remember it. Hello, Mr. Domain. I asked a question a few months ago about an issue I was having with my brother-in-law over a game that he ghosted me for / because of. I don't know if you remember that. Oh no, I do remember it. I do remember it. He was basically cutting off his friendship with you because he thought that you weren't good enough at the game. I want to say, is it like Destiny 2 or something? I'm trying to remember if you told me what the game was. Something like that. He said, he said, I don't want to be friends anymore. I'm tired of carrying, which is just kind of upsetting. It's just kind of like ruining a friendship over a video game. Like, come on. Oh yeah, Dark and Darker, that was the game. Okay, I remember now. I don't know how to continue with the relationship. Well, it sounds like neither does he. I feel like he removed the communication from the situation and blames me for continuously trying to argue about it. Okay, I hate that. If I'm being honest, I hate that. When people do that, they're like, clearly it's something that's bothering you and you want to talk about it and you want to resolve it, but they just dismiss you. And they make it seem like it's your problem. It's like, no, this is our relationship. This is our problem. It's not just on you. I feel like he removed the communication from the situation and blames me for continuously trying to argue about it, when in my opinion, I just want to be able to communicate effectively. He has told me that I cause arguments, but they are stupid and have no substance, so there's no reason to discuss them. This is your brother-in-law? He's married to your sister? Let's just hope he's a better communicator with the person he's married to. No, I'm engaged to his sister. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I was like, if this guy's married to your sister, I would be a little bit concerned about how they're able to resolve conflicts in their marriage, because this guy kind of sounds like la 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 la. Stop talking to me. Stop talking to me. I don't want to hear about it. You know, it's coming across as a little bit emotionally immature. I want to discuss them so I can grow and work on avoiding causing stupid arguments. If it's something that's bothering you and you want to talk about it, it's not really a stupid argument. Like, just have a conversation about it. Like, get it over with. Like, obviously it's an issue. I don't know what to do to move forward. Could you please offer some advice here? We'll try. We'll try, but this guy kind of sounds like he's a little bit emotionally immature. People who have a difficult time communicating about an issue will often dismiss that issue as stupid or irrelevant. And this is because avoidance and dismissal are their way of protecting themselves from their insecurities. He's 22, I'm 30. Just give him some space and let him grow up a little bit. He's got some growing to do, it sounds like. I would just continue to model good behaviors and hope that they stick. That's what I would do. That is my advice. Just continue to encourage discussion and emotional, openness. Just be a good role model. That's all I can say to do. And then give him time to grow. If he says something like it's stupid, then what I would recommend... Okay, so let me give you some examples of things that I would try to say. It's like if he says like, oh, this is stupid, I don't want to talk about it, you're just trying to cause an argument. You just be like, I'm not here to argue, I'm just here to have a discussion. There's an important distinction to be made here between an argument and a discussion. Arguments are something that we have when we're angry at each other and we're upset. But a discussion is something that we can come together as adults and talk about an issue that we're both having so that we can do something about it. It's productive. Doesn't need to be stressful. He messaged me before Thanksgiving saying he wants to move on so that family times, Thanksgiving and Christmas aren't strained. I guess I would just give him some space. It's like, how interested are you in talking to him right now? Like, you can not be buddy best friends at the get-together, and the get-together can still go perfectly fine. Maybe wait until after the holidays to revisit the topic and to talk about it a bit more. You know, if you're in the market for dealing through, like, working through a family issue, this is just something that I recommend in general. If it's the holiday season, sometimes it's best to wait until after the start of the new year if you're wanting to, like, revisit some family dynamic type stuff. Just for the sake of the holiday, just ride it out, and then when people are still in that, like, holiday honeymoon, that's when you want to be like, so hey, it was good seeing you the other day. And then you could talk about whatever it is you need to talk about. He refuses to have any discussion about it without saying I'm causing arguments that he's not willing to discuss. That's because he doesn't know how. If he knew how, he would do it. So sometimes what we have to do for people like that is we have to model how to do it. But we kind of have to do it in, like, a subtle way. You're not just going to come in and lecture and be like, actually, this is what you need to do. You're doing this all wrong. It's like, no, you just kind of have to continue to model good behaviors. At Thanksgiving, we only said hi because his mom and grandma made us shake hands, nothing the rest of that night. That's kind of weird. They're like, all right now, shake hands. I'm like, huh? Okay. Treating you both like your children. I would just say, have fun. Talk to people. You don't have to talk to him if you don't want to. Just talk to everybody else. Just show everybody else you're having a good time. You're fine. But anyway, these are also topics to discuss in person, because if these are just over text, you gotta remember that the way that they're reading it may not be the way that you're sending it. So even though you're saying something, they might read it in an argumentative tone. So if you're saying, like, hey, I really want to talk about that thing that happened, you know, you might not mean it in any, like, critical way, but it might be received in a critical way. Hey, I really need to talk about that thing that happened. You know what I mean? So if you're having important conversations, treat them with importance. And it's really difficult to have an important conversation when you're lacking in body language. You're not actually in the same room, or at least able to hear each other. So I think that probably what's going on is he's reading the messages that you're sending in a very argumentative way, and he's like, why is he trying to argue with me? And it's like, no, you're actually not. You're just trying to have a conversation, but the tone that he is reading them in is probably one that's very harsh and critical, and he's like, okay, Dad. You know what I mean? So if you have some time to like go aside and have a little talk person to person, that might help to clear things up because, like I said, this is something that's really hard to do over text. I just don't know where / how to start when he decided to stop / change our communication. I felt blank. So insert feelings here when you decided to stop communicating with me. Tell him how it made you feel when he did that thing. You know, you're not implying judgment or blame or anything, you're just stating facts. It made me feel this way when this thing happened. It's a great place to start. Like defense mechanisms, lack of benefit of the doubt to, yeah. I was hoping to do that at Thanksgiving actually, but our text convo just before Thanksgiving hindered that. I'm like, I would just try to keep the text conversation as straightforward and as limited as possible. Like, if you're discussing serious topics, discuss them in a serious way. And just discussing serious topics over text feels very unserious to me. You know? I think I've put so much of my feeling aside to try to repair what he affected, IMO. So take some time leading up to Christmas to decide how it is that it has made you feel to have this done. Like, hey, I just want to let you know that when this thing happened, it made me feel this way. Because right now, I'm operating under the assumption that anytime you send him a text message, he basically reads it as if you're, like, yelling it at him. Or you're just very angry. And that's why he's treating you as if you are very angry, but it doesn't sound like you're very angry, it just kind of sounds like you're really bummed out. So, communicate that. I'm just posting that. I typed that up when I saw your question. I was like, I want to type this up before I answer it because I want to remember what it is I want to. But no, this is when people have communication issues. And I think let's give everybody the benefit of the doubt here, and let's just say that the issue in the communication is that it's done over text. I feel like that's a major issue in the communication, and let's work on that first before we assume that it's because anybody else has communication issues. Let's assume that it's the text that's responsible. So maybe you could talk about that too when you decide to talk to him. And let him know, like, hey, I'm not sure how my texts were interpreted, but I just want to let you know that this is how I feel. You know, I don't know if you read those and thought that I was angry or upset, or, and it's like, well, I kind of am, but it's not like I'm angry. I'm just kind of sad, you know? And this works both ways. Like, be mindful of the tone that you read messages in as well. And I'm not just talking to the questioner here, I'm talking to everybody. Like, if you receive a text, just be mindful of the way that you're interpreting it. Are you interpreting it in the worst possible tone? did say that he did that because he has communication issues, cutting you off. Well, yeah, he's 22. 22-year-olds typically aren't the most effective communicators. Sorry, 22-year-olds, it's true, your frontal lobe's not fully developed. Your emotional maturity is still in the oven. Give it another couple years and you'll be good to go. I'm not saying you can't be good at it, I'm just saying, like, you're working with a hand tied behind your back. I would just try to be hopeful and optimistic about the nature of your relationship. Also, 22 is like prime age for like getting sweaty playing video games. And I think, you know, at 30, you're just not really that interested in getting really sweaty playing games, you know what I mean? Like, I definitely noticed that happen to myself. I'm just like... I'm a victim to that, misreading text intentions. We've all done it. We've all done it. And it's not necessarily a fault of ours, it's just a fault of the format. Like, whenever you read text, you have to yourself imply the tone that it is being delivered in. And sometimes we may assume a more aggressive or hostile tone than was implied. So just try to be mindful of how we interpret text. We don't always need to assume that people are mad at us. I try not to assume that anybody's mad at me unless they tell me I'm mad at you. We should try to have this convo in person, I guess, regardless of how difficult that may be. Why would it be that difficult? I don't see this coming to blows. I don't see this being like you're gonna start biting each other. The only thing that'll make it difficult is that you actually have to show your emotions to somebody in front of them. That's where the difficulty's from. It'll be easier than you think. Just gotta open your heart, brother. That's hard for me. Well, I can't blame you for that. It's hard for a lot of people. But you know what makes hard things easier to do? A little bit of practice. And you kinda already did it here. That's a little bit of practice already. It's just more awkward if you have social anxiety. The thing about social anxiety is that it's like social situations always have a little bit of uncertainty involved. You know, I can't read your mind. I don't know what you actually think about me. I have to take you at your word. So yeah, there's always a little bit of uncertainty baked into a social interaction because, you know, I can't see what you're thinking. I can guess. My guess might be pretty close. Like, if you're a socially anxious person, all that I would ask of you is to not allow social anxiety to become an excuse for not practicing socializing. You know? Just because it's difficult doesn't mean you shouldn't learn how to do it. It's such an important thing to learn how to do. I would say that learning how to socialize is arguably one of the most important things that you can learn how to do. So if you need help, ask me. I'm here. Let me know how I can help you. Probably the same trap I'm in where I don't feel comfortable talking with my family unless I feel safe doing so, like having a significant other or family member backing me up. Yeah, especially, if you have a history of being made to feel emotionally irrelevant. If people don't take your feelings seriously, it makes it really hard for us to talk about our feelings in adulthood because we're like, why would anybody care? I've tried to talk about my feelings before and people shut me down, and that sometimes happens when we're young. Sometimes adults just have a hard time taking a child's emotions seriously. They've got their own stuff that they're overwhelmed with. They can't really afford too much emotional energy to having empathy for their child. That's why you gotta make time. That describes me to a T. Now I just avoid people. Avoiding people, and I'm just gonna be very straightforward with you. Avoiding people will only make it worse. Because you're hyping it up in your mind, you're building up that difficulty. The longer that it goes, the less you practice, the more difficult it will feel, the more stressful, the more overwhelming it'll feel. So I think, even just being here and chatting here in this community, that's a great way to hone your skills and to feel a little bit more comfortable expressing how you feel. Thank you, Gonjolf. I think you're gonna do great. I think that, when you see him over the holiday and you're in person, just, have one of those heart-to-heart conversations. It'll be a Christmas miracle. Just be like, hey, listen. Practice, rehearse ahead of time. Get that tone just right. That soft, compassionate tone. Hey, listen. Just talk about how the entire situation sucks. Just like, this situation that we found ourselves in sucks, and I just want to be friends, I just want things to be back to the way they were. I suck at tone. Practice, practice, practice. Well, a really important thing to learn how to do, especially if you have a hard time with tone, is to say it, but listen to yourself as you say it, and then just imagine that was being said to you. Sometimes it can also help to record yourself and then play it back and be like, okay, this is what I sound like. And you're like, oh, I sound really angry. I sound really frustrated here. I wasn't picking that up when I spat it out, but now that I'm listening back to it, I'm like, okay, maybe I could bring it in a little bit. Maybe I could soften it up some. That happened to me. That happened to me. I was like listening to a recording of myself. I was like, damn, I sound fucking pissed. Like, okay, bring it in a little bit. Reel it in. I'm not sure there's a back to the way. You know what I mean. I don't necessarily mean it literally. I just mean it kind of like figuratively. Like, we don't, when we say like, I just want things to go back to the way they were, we don't have to explicitly mean that that's what we want. We're just saying that we were peaceful once and I want to be peaceful again. It's just kind of about the gesture. It's the gesture of the phrase, finally contacted my ex to get my stuff from her house, and I'm seeing her Monday after work. I have a lot of anxiety about how she's doing, but part of me doesn't want to ask and invest emotionally into whatever answer she gives me. And you know what? You don't have to. You know why? This is your ex. It's your ex. You're free and clear of any emotional obligation. You're free. I don't think I would trust it anyway. The thoughts I've been ruminating on is if she misses me or if she has any kind of remorse. Probably both. Let's just assume both. See, here's the thing. You don't need her to answer that question for you. You can answer that question yourself. It's your life. You define the narrative. Because those are both, in some ways, at least partially true. And I don't even know the circumstances, but what I do know is that this is something that happens very commonly when people break up, even if it was for good reason. It's like you still kind of miss the idea of the person, or you miss the good times you had, and you might have some remorse over the things that you've done. So I would say, why not assume that both are true? You can answer that question yourself. I don't know why that matters to me so much, because you want to know that what you had meant something. You want to know that, people aren't just misleading to you. You want to know that, I can love and be loved. It matters because we like closure. We like things to have a neat ending. Sometimes in life, it's best to give ourselves the closure we're looking for. I know that I gave a lot, and ultimately she's not ready for a serious relationship, and that's okay. I don't want anything that needs to be forced, but I don't know why cognitively knowing that I deserve someone that'll meet me where I'm at isn't enough. Well, yeah, cognitively knowing something, that's just knowing it up here. You gotta know it down here, you gotta know it down in your gut. It's like, there are lots of things that we know that we should do, or that we would be better served to do, but then we'd go against those things anyway. It happens all the time. I know that I shouldn't have another bowl of ice cream, but I kind of want another bowl of ice cream anyway. I don't know why I crave the validation from her that it's okay for me to go. I think the only person's validation that you need is your own validation. You need your own validation. Do you believe it's okay for you to go? I think part of the reason why you might crave that validation is because you want to feel validated yourself. And you're like, please, just give me this validation that it's okay, so that I can be okay with it too. I don't know why that feels like it's not enough. Because it's not a quick fix. This is a wound that will take a little bit of time to heal, and this is just how you start healing it. You know, you put a broken arm in a cast and you're just like, well, this is kind of better, but it still just doesn't feel like enough. It's like the missing ingredient is simply time. Sometimes we have to practice trusting our own validation, especially if we've been made to feel invalid at other points in our life. I also think I'm still mad that I know she's still with her abuser and I don't want to see it. Yeah, that's difficult. That's tough. But I feel like this time to like go get your stuff, it'll be some sort of closure. It might not feel like the closure you're looking for, but the closure we get is rarely the closure we're looking for. If we tried to be friends, I know I would just worry about her, and I know it's not fair to do that to myself. Maybe saying goodbye is just hard and all of this is normal. I can't tell. I would say a lot of this is normal. I just want to be able to shut the book on that chapter and be done. That's what this sounds like. It sounds like Monday after work is the end of that chapter. Unless you want to keep that chapter going. Do you want that chapter to end? Because here's the thing. In the past few days, in the past few weeks, however long it's been, you've been looking forward to this event. Because this is something you've had to do, you know? You've had to go get your stuff. And so it's been something that's just been on the back burner. It's been on your mind. And once you go and do it, and once it's over with, you will experience relief. I just don't want to end on a note where I'm angry with her. Then be angry at the circumstances. Then be angry at the conditions. It's okay to be angry. Just direct it at the situation. I feel like a lot of this is normal. Saying goodbye is hard. I would just wish her the best. I would just say, hey, take good care of yourself. Good luck out there. And say, well, see you later. I wish her growth. Then pray for her. Meditate for her. Believe me, I've experienced firsthand just how frustrating it can be to try to get somebody out of an abusive situation, especially when they're just not ready to get out of that situation. You know, it doesn't make you stop worrying about them. It doesn't make you stop caring about them. It's just like, what can you do? It's their choice. It's their life. You can't drag them out. In time, she will know that you are correct. And that will be her reckoning. That will be her, you know, logical and emotional reckoning when that day comes. Like, you know what? I should have listened. You just want to scream at them, just be logical, right? It's just like... Sometimes you just have to give people space to figure out what it is that they need to do, you know? I want to shake her and be like, insert your name with any of your friends and family and tell me you'd be okay with it. And, you know, and a person in that situation might be like, well, of course not. Of course I wouldn't want that. But it's different for me. That's what they normally say, is that, but it's different. You don't understand. But I feel like for most intents and purposes, you have already communicated how you feel. You gotta protect your own sanity. You are also somebody who is worth fighting for. That's exactly what she said, and I always felt like I was talking to a wall, and she refuses to lean on her support network and alienated everyone. What can you do? Sometimes you just have to be like, okay, all right. Your life, your choices, go for it. You know? Yeah, what Zany says is true. It's like sometimes if you're like, sometimes you end up pushing them further away. You know, because they don't like to be told that what they're doing is harmful to them. People don't like to be told that. People they have all of their own different, you know, mental gymnastics that they'll jump through to rationalize the situation that they're in. And sometimes all you can do is just say, okay, go for it. I tried to tell you. Tried to tell you doing a backflip off that diving board wasn't a good idea. But you didn't want to listen. She just said it's okay because she's used to it. That just sounds like the mind of an abused person. It's like, it's okay, I'm used to it. It's like, you shouldn't be used to it. It shouldn't have even gotten that far. You're literally just saying, it's okay that I'm abused. I'm accustomed to being abused. It sucks, and you want to help this person. You care about them. You want to see him doing well, but it's like, what can you do? Sounds like you've tried everything you can do. How do you tell the difference between a transactional relationship, a healthy give and take relationship, and one that's genuinely loving? Ah, alright. I would say that there is a point and purpose for all of these types of relationships. There's a point and a purpose for all of these types of relationships. You know, some relationships are transactional. You know, you're paying the person at the checkout counter and you're like, all right, thank you. That's literally a transactional relationship. Healthy give and take relationships. I feel like pretty much every healthy relationship is going to have some give and some take. And so I think that that one can also kind of be folded into that genuinely loving type of relationship. Because I feel like no relationship is entirely just all about one person making all the sacrifice, you know? So what's the difference? Comfort level is one. Comfort level, comfort with vulnerability, your comfort with emotional expression. You know, also your familiarity. How often have you met? How long have you known each other? That can also be a factor. Sometimes you can know people for a really long time and still not know them very well, but time affords you the opportunity to get to know someone better. I get that some people might just say that just feel the vibes instead of overthinking it, but I already listen to my emotions to figure out what's working and what's not. When I spend time to better understand my actions, it helps me navigate relationships better. Yep. By understanding yourself, you can understand your relationships. By understanding yourself, you can also understand others. By learning to love yourself, you can also learn how to love others. And so it's not narcissistic to get to know yourself better. I would actually say that it's really important to know yourself as well as you can. When I spend time to better understand my actions, it helps me navigate relationships better, but I feel attention from society might label me an overthinker. All right, who in society specifically? I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but everyone overthinks from time to time. Some people might do it more than others. Everybody overthinks, though. Doesn't matter what society. Doesn't matter if society labels you an overthinker. It's not like it's gonna be like, oh yeah, it's on your permanent record. This person overthinks. No. No. One person's overthinker is another person's critical thinker. One person, might interpret you as an overthinker. Another person might see you as deep and insightful. So you're not gonna get unanimous support from society, so I wouldn't worry about that. I would focus on embracing your genuine self. But I'm thinking so hard because I want to make sure my emotional needs are met in the relationship and I don't harm the other person's emotional needs. So is it wrong to break things down like this, or is it actually a good way to build stronger connections? How can you tell if a relationship feels transactional or vibing and chill? There's a couple questions to that, so let me start with, is it actually a good way to build stronger connections? By understanding the nature of relationships, I feel like that's a great way to build stronger connections. I think it's also really important to understand the nature of the relationship that you are in, no matter what relationship that is. Because it's okay to have transactional relationships in life. That's perfectly fine. We don't want all of them to be transactional because that's kind of lonely. We want to have friends come over and not have to pay them to be there. So no, I think it's fine to break things down like this because it gives you a better understanding of the true nature of things, and it can also help you to prioritize, which of my relationships do I really want to invest in and which ones am I okay with keeping them where they're at. To answer your second question, how can you tell if a relationship feels transactional or vibing and chill? I would just say, is there a point and a purpose to spending time with this person? Are you there to achieve an objective? Is this a person that is just coming over to help you move? Are they coming over to help you lift a washing machine? Or are they there to just hang out? I would say that transactional relationships are mostly just where it's like, okay, I'm here because something needs to get done, or we have a certain objective in mind. That kind of feels a bit more transactional. So I would say the more specific of a goal that you have in spending time with a person, that could lead you to think, maybe this is a little bit transactional. My recommendation is to just give out as much love as you possibly can. You're not going to run out. And the more you give out, the more you'll get back. I spent my whole life not knowing how to make friends correctly. Basically, was the scapegoat growing up and insecure. I'm currently 50 years old and I want to learn how to do it differently. Question I have is it still possible to change such a core thing in your personality after 50 years? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. 50 is a great time to change it. Just for sake of reference, like in a general sense, it's still relatively easy to change stuff about us all the way up until we're probably in our 70s. Once you start to get up into like your late 60s, your 70s, your 80s, that's when things start to slow down a little bit, and we might have and it does not mean that change is not impossible. Is it not possible? You can still make changes at later stages of your life, but they might take a little longer. So not only is it possible, but it's possible in a reasonable amount of time. This isn't something that's going to necessarily take you 5-10 years to do. Just, if you're interested in the neurology of like an aging brain, as you get older, your brain starts to, become more condensed. It like loses some of its mass. It kind of becomes a little bit, more rigid and firm. Like old Jello. Like your brain's kind of like Jello, right? And you're like, when you're a baby, it's like, oh yeah, you can put all sorts of stuff in the Jello mold because it hasn't set yet. And then the Jello sets. And then once the Jello sits out for a while, it starts to get kind of rubbery. Kind of like that. A little different, but. So yes, it is absolutely possible. Let's talk about how we could do it. What type of friend do you want to have? What type of friend are you looking to make? What are some things that you would like to do with a friend? How to make friends correctly. I would say If you want to make friends, be honest, be open, be interested. You don't have to necessarily be interesting. A lot of people will look into like, how do I make friends as like, how do I wow this person? I'm trying to like sell myself. You know, it's like a job interview. I'm trying to prove my value. Like, you want to look over my resume? You want to look over my character sheet? But actually, one of the best ways to make friends is to show interest in what the other person has to say and what the other person's got going on, and just be invested. Just show interest in them. And if they're a good friend, then they'll show interest in you too, because that's what good friends do. Another really important part of making friends correctly is giving space when necessary and showing up when you should. You know, reaching out. Like, if you haven't heard from them in a while, like, reach out to them. Say, hey, I've been thinking about you. Hope things are going okay. Hope to hear from you soon. Talk to you later. The simplest bit of advice that I've ever received about making friends. If you want to make friends, try being friendly. So what does it mean to be friendly to you? What does friendly look like to you? What is a friendly person by your standards? You know, we actually have a slideshow about how to make friends. If we have time today, maybe we'll go over that. We might have some time later today to go over one of our old slideshows, and I've got one about how to make friends, and I think that would be a good one to revisit. Because it's something that a lot of people have a hard time doing, and in reality, it's not as hard as you might think. Just remember, making friends isn't a job interview. I also find it to be helpful in making friends to treat the person as if they are already my friend. They just don't know it yet. I think I need to watch that presentation, you know? Give it a go. I am not good at making friends. No, actually, you are good at making friends. You just don't feel good at making friends. It's a difference. I've only ever observed you to be compassionate, friendly, and kind. You have many valuable traits that people would appreciate in a friend. So I just can't believe it that you would feel like you have a hard time making friends. Well, online maybe. In person, I am awful at social interactions. Online counts. Online counts, though. We're all friends here, gang. So you feel like you're awful at social interactions? In what way? Do you fling poo at the other person? Do you hop up and down and scream at them? Do you show your teeth like... In what way are we terrible at social interaction? If we're not jumping up and down like a chimpanzee, screaming, hollering, and flinging poo, then, you know, we can work with that. We can, as long as you're not acting like an angry ape, we can work with that. We can. I just can't talk when I get nervous or say things that are a real dump. This is where mindfulness comes into practice, and this is something that you have been practicing lately, so just continue to practice it. Before you say that thing that you want to say, just think about, how will it affect the vibes in this room? How will it affect this gathering that I am in? Do I want to bring the mood down, or do I want to bring the mood up? The reason why... Or I say things that are really dumb. Oh, well, dumb things are the funnest things to say, so who cares? I say dumb shit all the time, and it's my favorite shit to say. Sure, saying smart shit is all well and good, but saying dumb shit is so much more fun. I say the dumbest shit. I also say the dumbest shit. Have you heard half the shit I say? We're here to celebrate the dumb shit sayers, okay? We don't need to take ourselves so seriously. Hi, Papa. My 1-year anniversary with my boyfriend was 2 days ago, but the day after, he broke up with me yesterday. Oh. I'm gonna get right back to this question. I want to respond to something in chat real quick first before it scrolls past me. Sometimes I just get word vomit in person and I don't know what to say. That's just because you're actually excited. Actually, a lot of people like it when you show passion about stuff. A lot of people like it when you talk excitedly about something that brings you joy. A lot of people actually like that. Let me guess, the people that you were raised by, when you got too excited about something or you showed too much joy about something, they said, "What are you smiling about? What are you laughing about, huh? Oh, I'll give you something to laugh about." And then they hand you a broom or something and they're like, "Go sweep." You know what I mean? Here's the thing. How about this? For everything that you excitedly share about yourself, for every excited detail that you share about yourself, encourage the other person to share an exciting detail about themselves as well. You know, that way we're not hogging the spotlight. That way we can actually get to know each other better instead of just having this person learn more stuff about me. You know, just maybe go for a little bit more, you know, quid pro quo. If I sang at home, I was told to shut up and that I am being annoying. Alright, I know what your homework is. You're singing today. You're gonna do some karaoke. Even if it's just you alone at home, or even if it's just you and your husband, do a little singing. Make your own kind of music. Sing your own special song. Consider this inner child work. You know, you go to a therapist, they might charge you $200 for that little bit of guidance. But I'm just giving it away for free. Have fun with that. Go do some karaoke therapy. It'll be good for your soul. Imagine hearing the sound of your child singing and telling them to shut up. Like, could you even imagine that level of, like, detachment and cruelty? Like, that just seems unfathomable to me. Like, if I had a child and I heard them singing, I would shut the fuck up and listen. You know what I mean? I also wasn't allowed to play instruments because they would annoy my parents. Well, it sounds like they shouldn't have got you instruments. If they weren't equipped to hear an instrument being played, they should not have purchased an instrument for you. I was probably being annoying because I was... Okay. So, here's the thing. You were a kid. Kids can be annoying. That doesn't mean that you need to feel like I'm annoying or that people shouldn't know me or that I shouldn't be able to express myself today as an adult. Can kids be annoying sometimes because they just don't understand boundaries or limits? Sure. But we're grown-ups, and we should be able to, you know, have some fun. I have a follow-up question. Exclamation Q. It'll give you the link to the question box. Alright, I'm taking this one from the top. Alright. Hi, Papa. My 1-year anniversary with my boyfriend was 2 days ago, but the day after he broke up with me yesterday. My apologies, but this reminds me of a Christmas song. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart. Very next day, you gave it away. I was surprised by my reaction. I didn't cry as much as I thought I would. I genuinely had strong feelings for him and did love him, so it's been a somewhat emotional time, but I've handled it differently than I ever did before. Yeah. Okay. Over the past month, it seemed like life was becoming overwhelming for him. He's 20 and about 4 years younger than me, so I imagined this is a transitional and uncertain time in his life. Oh, it is. Absolutely. During the breakup, he told me I was the best woman he's ever dated, and early during our relationship, he mentioned that this was his first serious relationship. I responded with the breakup with, "While it's hard to hear, I respect your feelings and decision. I miss you and will always wish you the best. Number 1. We call each other number 1 as a way to encourage ourselves to always do our best each day. He told me I taught him a lot, which was comforting to hear. I'm sharing all of this to ask for your perspective. Do you think this breakup could be a reaction to the big changes and challenges he's navigating at this point in his life? This is me assuming his feelings, which I know isn't the greatest, but it seemed like something he truly didn't want to do. And why do you think I've handled this breakup better than I've handled past ones?" Well, Let's speculate. Let's speculate. Perhaps he does have some growing to do. Perhaps he doesn't want to make you, have wait through all that. He's got some growth ahead of him. He's only 20. He's pretty young. Why do I think that you've handled it better than you've handled past ones? Maybe, as much as you did care about him, as much as you did really like to be with this person, maybe you just didn't see it as something that was going to be forever. Maybe this was something that you may have, in some way, shape, or form, seen coming. Doesn't mean that you didn't like each other, didn't mean that you weren't able to have fun, but sometimes we just find ourselves at different stages in life from the person that we are with, and we just, want to wish each other the best and go our separate ways. Here's the problem with fixing men. Sometimes you fix them and they grow and mature, and then you're not the right fit anymore. Exactly. You have given him the motivation to go out there and fix himself, but it doesn't need to be you there the whole time that's helping him to come into his true identity. So I feel like you've both learned something here, you've both grown from the experience, and so it doesn't have to be all bad. It doesn't have to be all bad. You learned something. He learned something. You can wish each other the best. It sounds like both of you kind of knew that this was bound to be, just the way that you both kind of took it. The person in the relationship that you should focus on improving or working on is yourself. It's nice to be helpful to other people, but we gotta focus on improving ourselves. And then by setting that example, we should motivate the other person to want to improve themselves too, rather than just viewing this person as like a pet project. You know what I mean? Like, become a role model for self-improvement, self-awareness, emotional understanding, compassion, empathy. And then if they seek out assistance in becoming more like that, then offer that assistance. Cough if protecting them from truth. People are energizing vulnerable people with arousal. Cough if this is true. Cough if protecting them from truth. I don't know. Am I supposed to cough or not cough? Do I cough twice? He said that you were the best woman he ever dated, and that's true. And that's true. I think it's okay to, look for somebody who's a little bit further along, somebody who's a little bit more emotionally mature. You're in, even between like 20s and mid 20s, it's like, that's different stages of life. Like when you're under 20, if you're in America, like you can't even drink yet. It's like you're just starting college. It's like somebody who's 25, it's like they might be graduating college. They might be out there trying to start a career. Different life stages, different priorities, different lessons that they're working on learning. If life finds a way to bring you back together, then so be it. But I would just say you both enjoyed your time together, you had some fun, you learned some stuff, and it's okay to move on. Because it sounds like you are ready to move on because it wasn't that devastating to like lose this person, you know? Doesn't mean that the relationship didn't have value. It just means that you're okay with it because you, in the grand scheme of things, yeah. That requires at least 3 booms. Could go for a double chunk chocolate cookie. Double chunk chocolate cookie. I had to distance myself from my own friends of like 8 years when I realized my emotional needs were changing, and when I communicated that to them, they were not willing to budge. It sucks, but I had to start distancing myself from them. It sucks to see, but it does happen. Because sometimes people would rather keep toxic relationships going, even if they're toxic friendships. Which could be a topic for another day. We could talk all about just how sometimes toxicity manifests in friendships. Sometimes we will persist in a toxic relationship just for the sake of having a relationship, whether it be romantic or friendly or whatever, because connection is that important to us that sometimes we're willing to bear with a little bit of radioactivity. But another thing that you'll notice is when you start to embrace a growth mindset and you start to, work on your emotional needs, what that'll bring you to and what that will help you find is other like-minded people. Sometimes we outgrow our relationships in life. Sometimes we have to seek out people who are also committed to growth. And that's what we do here. We're growers. We're not showers. We're growers. We're showers and growers. Hi, Joshua in chat. I am gay. Again? Again? This kind of ties back into that other question that somebody asked about how can you tell if some relationships are transactional versus healthy give and take versus genuinely loving, etc. It's okay to have different friends and different relationships for different circumstances. It's okay to have the friend who is like, hey, you want to go out? You want to go out to the club? You want to go out to the bar? Like, hey, you want to go out and see a movie? It's okay to have different friends for different circumstances. Not every friend you have has to be a one-size-fits-all. So, like, you can have the friend who feels more comfortable just hanging out at home, playing a game, making dinner, just hanging out with you. And then you can have the friends who might want to go out and go shopping, or the friends who might want to go out and go see a movie, or go to the museum, or whatever. Asexual carpet wiggler. Patty Woo, I don't know where you're getting half of this stuff, but sometimes I read what you say and I'm just like, is this poetry? It sounds like poetry. This is a pretty silly question, but last night when watching you and Casey go out to shop/eat, I always can't believe how little you guys care when the chat uses their points to make fart noises in public. Sometimes I have to mute the stream and look away because I get such strong secondhand embarrassment. I was wondering how you have gotten to the point where things like that don't bother you. It seems very freeing. I think I have a bit of a fear of being recorded in public due to how social media is, so embarrassing things have such a strong impact on me. I just dissociate. I just dissociate from the situation. I don't know, it's like you get used to it. It's just what I've noticed is that people out in public will actively try to pretend that they do not see you or that they do not acknowledge your existence. People will go out of their way to just pretend that you don't exist. And so that in that way I do feel free. A lot of people are just so wrapped up in what they're doing. They don't have time to like look outside themselves and to see what other people are doing around them. Like when I went to Walmart, painted yellow as Ned Flanders from The Simpsons, and people were like going out of their way to like not look at me. They were like, when I'm out in public, please leave me alone. See, that's what a lot of people are like. They just want to be left alone and like they just want to go to the store, get their shopping done so that they can go home and, you know, do what they need to do. So I think what's really important to recognize is that not as many people care as you think. People aren't really looking at you. People aren't really watching you. People are trying to forget you because they're trying to just get home. So yeah. What freed me from that is recognizing that most people just don't actually care. They just try to ignore it. Whether it's a fart sound or whatever, they just try to not acknowledge it, just continue, just... So yeah. The subtle art of not giving a fuck. I hate when people grab me in public, like I'm a little child. Someone grabbed my dress once and tucked my tag in. I'm an adult. Yeah, touching anybody without consent is cringe. Also, you gotta remember that this is much more of like a Midwestern thing. Like that sort of stuff would not fly in like some other parts of the world or like some of the bigger cities. Like you try to do that in like New York and you try touching somebody without their permission, they're gonna have some words for you. But I feel like in the Midwest, people are just trying to be polite, and even though they're trying to be polite, they're still like crossing people's boundaries. Do you know if there's a disorder that makes you think you smell bad? I'm scared my breath smells. I'm scared if my pants smell of butt sweat, my deodorant. I just don't think it works. I'll smell my t-shirts after a day and I'll go, oh my god, did I smell like this all day? No. No, not typically. You gotta remember that people aren't normally coming up this close to you and going, like you're doing whenever you smell your t-shirt.
You know, whenever you like smell your t-shirt and you're like, what have I had cooking today? And you're like, people aren't normally coming all the way up to you and being like, you know, so you're giving a little bit of a misconception about how you actually smell. Like, sure, if they actually were all up on you, just like, then yeah, like they'd be able to smell exactly what you smell like. I constantly think I smell, even if I just showered, even if I put on deodorant. That's because we do smell, and I'm not just saying it's just you, it's all of us. Humans smell. We make smells, and that's okay. You know, if your deodorant isn't working, you might want to look into an alternative deodorant. Some deodorants don't work for some people. You could also try something that you could maybe, you know, maybe like a cologne or a perfume or something. Spray on a little something. See, on the flip side though, I've also met people who will use way too much perfume or way too much cologne, and it's like, that's more offensive to me. It's just like, I'm gagging over here because of the sheer volume of perfume or cologne that you've got on. Here's the thing. You are an organic living being, and organic living beings all have a smell. As long as you're not going weeks without showering, as long as you're changing your underwear, you're probably okay. If you're not going weeks and weeks without showering, if you're wiping your ass, if you're, you know, scrubbing all your naughty bits, you're probably just fine. So, is there a disorder that makes you think you smell bad? I wouldn't look at it that way. I wouldn't look at it as this is a disorder that makes me think I smell bad, like I have think I stinkatosis. I don't think that's what's going on here. I feel like this is just a hyperfixation that might be brought on by a little bit of anxiety. So I think what you might actually be dealing with is just some anxiety. And the realm of your anxiety just happens to be, how do I smell? And you know what? That's pretty common. A lot of people have a concern for how they smell. That's why some people bathe themselves in perfume or bathe themselves in cologne. It's because they think that they stink and they need to cover it up. And then what they end up doing is they end up putting too much on, and that's just as bad. You know what would also be helpful? Find someone you trust and ask them, hey, how do I smell? Find a smell buddy. Like, hey, I smell all right today? If you're scared that your breath smells, brush your tongue. And also gargle. Get a nice fresh breath mouthwash and gargle it. Brush your tongue off. You won't have to worry about bad breath. Also, floss. Flossing is also important. Also, it's not the worst thing in the world if you don't smell good all the time, okay? It's normal, it's okay, we're used to it. So yeah, I think you're probably fine, because if you're so concerned about smelling bad, then you're probably doing a lot of things to try to smell better. And so you probably don't actually smell that bad, it's just that you're very hyper-focused on your smell. And so it makes you much more aware of it. And other people just might not be as aware of it as you are. So yeah, find somebody you can trust and then ask and be like, hey, you do me a favor? How do I smell today? I'm trying a new deodorant. How does it smell? When it gets bad, but I eat the plaque and scrape it with a fingernail. I wish I could unread that. I wish I could erase that from my memory. Hello. Yesterday I sent a question about whether or not to go on a date despite being in mourning for a relationship. I went and it was cool. Thanks for the advice. I felt like he's not someone I'm going to fall in love with or have anything serious with, but he's a nice person and it distracts me. But for me it was inevitable to compare, and I missed so much the connection that my ex and I had. I know we couldn't work it out, but it hurts so much. I think what hurts the most is not having such a strong connection with anyone else in this world. Intellectual, touching, everything. I know that the right thing to do is to love yourself and be self-sufficient, but I never felt this. I just struggle to survive every day, and it takes all my energy. It's as if part of me had no space to exist because the space was him. I need an interlocutor to communicate certain things, and sometimes putting these things out is to exist. If I don't have someone who understands a certain part of me, it feels like there's no way I can be, and that makes me feel incomplete. Any advice? Yes, I would take some time to meditate on it. Just take some time to reflect. What you're working on is trying to validate yourself. It's really common for people to find themselves in positions where we seek out validation from people that we care about. We seek out validation from loved ones, people that we can trust, because they give us a moral compass. This is valuable, this is meaningful, this is okay, but we also need to trust ourselves as well. And so that's what we're practicing doing right now. So just think about, you're learning to trust yourself. You were having some conflicted feelings about going on this date, and you ended up going and it was okay. And so think back. What were you worried about? What were you concerned about? What went different than you expected? What went right? What did you enjoy about it? You're learning to trust your own judgment. And that's a good thing. It's a valuable skill. And now is the point in your life where you're learning how to really practice it. You need to make space for yourself. And this is why I recommend meditation. It's because meditation, and I'm not saying you need to become a meditator for the rest of your life, or you need to do it every single day for 20 minutes, even though that would be really fucking cool. Meditation is about creating space. And that's what you're working on doing, is creating space for yourself in your mind. And now's a great time to do that. It's really understandable that you would miss that connection, but you gotta remember that connections like that take time to form. Connections that form quickly are very rarely intense and strong connections or long-lasting connections. You know, connections generally get stronger over time. Even if it felt like you were really strongly connected at the beginning, that connection still got stronger over the span of time, so. You don't need a person to complete you. You need a person who can, you two together can create something that is even bigger than either of you. Okay, resubscribe for 3 months. Thank you. 3 months, that means you got some lobes. You got some lobes on your sub badge now. You love to see it. A nice wrinkly brain. Cup, it's coffee today. So yeah, that's my advice. I would just take some time to meditate. Because I feel like you are in the process of doing some introspection. You're doing a little bit of soul searching. You're trying to make more space for yourself in your mind. And that's something that meditation is really useful for. So whether it just be putting on some peaceful music and, laying out in bed or sitting in a, on a park bench. I don't know if it's probably cold where you're at. Maybe some guided meditations. I'm not getting shrimp, but I'm getting Fazoli's. It sounds like a win. So just an example, if you look on YouTube, there are tons of guided meditation videos. And specifically, I looked for guided meditations for making space. So this is creating mental space, permission to let go, clearing the clutter, holding space for yourself. Stop energy vampires. Oh man. Who is this weird grandpa and how do we connect? Like, how do we team up? Look at this guy. Protect yourself from energy vampires. Guided meditation and spiritual protection tips. Tools for Ascension by Wolfgang. Are energy vampires draining your life force? Learn how to protect yourself from energy vampires with this guided meditation. Anyway. Yeah, I think it would be really important to just take some time to think about where you're at, where you've been, and where you want to go. I would just make some time to practice some good self-care, do some meditation, and see where that gets you. What is Fazoli's? Fazoli's is a fast food Italian restaurant in the United States. They've got some pretty great breadsticks. The breadsticks are really good. They used to, whenever you would go eat at Fazoli's, they used to have somebody walk around the area with a basket full of breadsticks and like give you breadsticks. Be like, yeah, you need a breadstick? They have these little tongs. They're like, hey, you need a breadstick? You need a breadstick? I one time met up with some friends at Fazoli's and they got food, but I had already eaten, but I still wanted some breadsticks. So I was just like, hey, can I get some breadsticks? And they gave me breadsticks. It was so sick. I just wish we had Taco Bell here. I would love a taco. Did you, so you got to try macaroni and cheese when you were in London. Did you get to try any Taco Bell? Taco Bell is good in its own way, but it's definitely different from the real thing. That being said, Taco Bell can be good sometimes. The tortellini spaghetti monster thing, the Fazoli page, what, like their website? Hold on, I'm curious. What am I looking at? I'm afraid and excited at the same time. Oh, it's in the, okay, the menu. They have wings now? Okay, what am I looking at? What am I looking for? These all look the same to me. Everything looks the same. Are breadsticks good? Breadsticks are good. Breadsticks are... a little bit of garlic, a little bit of butter. Breadsticks are part of, it's one of the best parts about eating Italian food. A good breadstick. Where did it go? I don't know. I don't see it anywhere. I'm not sure what we're talking about. If you can find the link, feel free to post it. I'm not sure what I'm looking for. They get that many calories in marinara sauce? Sugar, mostly. Sugar. Alright, we got that another follow-up here. I think I struggle to adequately express my feelings / thoughts in person regarding my issue with my brother-in-law, aside from the ruminating that I've been doing on the topic for the past 7-ish months. Can you give me some tips to approaching that conversation with him in person? Thanks again. Yes. Yes. So, just to frame the situation here, if this is something that you have been ruminating on for months, I would say that that is definitely something that hits that criteria that this is something that is worth discussing, and it is worth discussing in person. Because, as we've talked about before, talking about things just over text, it really leaves too much room for misinterpretation. So, tips to approaching this conversation with him in person. Be gentle, be compassionate. If you're frustrated or you're sad, you know, think about where that feeling is really stemming from. It's like, we don't need to be angry, we don't need to be accusatory, we don't need to be judgmental. We can be sad. We can be sad that the situation is what it is, and we could miss what we had, and we could, you know... So... how do we talk about it in person? Hey, you got a minute? I just wanted to talk about something real quick. Yeah, let's go over here. Let's go have a seat over here. Hey, So what I wanted to talk about was, these past few months, I've just felt this way, and you could talk about how you feel. You just open it up. You just open it up and you put your feelings out there and you say, this is what it is. This is how I feel. And then see how they respond. And then we don't need to... Okay, so something I really want to make clear is that how you approach the conversation is probably going to be the most important thing for you to figure out ahead of time. When the conversation starts, we can't rehearse everything. We can't know all of our lines ahead of time. It's like we're going to put ourselves into an unfamiliar and vulnerable place. So just try to be comfortable with that. Try to be open to that. Try to recognize that this is an opportunity for growth and healing. So don't worry about everything that you're going to say in the entire conversation because you don't know. You don't know how he's going to respond. All that you can do is approach it in a compassionate and fair way and then hope that he's open to discussing it. That's all you can do. Give it a fair shot. Give it a fair chance. All you can do is talk about your feelings, and I would encourage you to avoid coming across as accusatory. Just come from a place of like, this is how I feel, and I'm just putting it out there. So, in the days leading up to this, you've got some time to think about it. What is it that you want him to know? And how do you want to say it? Maybe flip the situation around a little bit. Maybe try to put yourself in his perspective. Someone who's a bit younger, a little bit more emotionally underdeveloped. Someone who might be a little bit more avoidant. Put yourself in his position. How would you want somebody to come to you to talk about this kind of thing? Because what it sounds like is he kind of just wants to put this behind the two of you, and so it's okay to talk about it before you do that. It's okay to talk about stuff before we let it go. That way we can learn from it. That way we can grow from it, and we're not just trying to forget it. So take some time to, think about it. Put yourself into a different perspective. You've got some time to think about it. You got some time to mentally prepare and mentally rehearse. So I would just try to find the most fair and balanced way to do it. I think that's part of it. If I were in his shoes, I don't think I would want to talk about it either, but being the man/adult I am now, I do want to talk about it and do better. I think that talking to him about that as well, to show that you have thought about his position, is also really important. I would also probably take some time to just talk about the importance of men being able to talk about their feelings and not just feeling like they have to forget them. I feel like part of what this conversation could be is a conversation, between two men about it's okay to talk about how we feel, brother. It's okay. We gotta be able to lift each other up. We gotta be there for each other. It's okay to let your guard down. I'm not here to hurt you. You know, you might not get the results that you're looking for immediately, but you got to remember you're planting seeds here. You're here to plant some seeds and to see what sticks. So just be considerate of what type of seeds you want to be planting. I think that sometimes where we can fall short whenever we're trying to discuss something with someone is I need to know that you understand everything that I'm saying to you right here, right now. I need you to be crystal clear. I need you to change your mind in this moment. And our minds just don't really change that way. Our minds change gradually. And so sometimes we need to give people time to really process and absorb whatever it is that we are trying to get them to understand. Especially when emotions are involved. It's definitely something I'm struggling with. Well, you're working on it. You're working on it, and you're at the right age to be working on it. You know, you don't normally see people younger working on it like that. It's something you do as a sign of maturity, a sign of being grown up. I feel like he's not trying to or is unwilling to understand my position in it. This is a new situation for him. You can't really expect him to know what the hell he's doing. So just consider the way that you could help him to understand that, you know? I feel like he would be more willing if he knew how. He probably has tried to the best of his abilities, but you know, he's young. Sometimes things just take time to learn, especially when you're young. Sometimes you just need to get a little bit further on in life for things to actually, you know, come into perspective. So be a seed planter, be a good gardener. Don't expect a miracle. But it'll be Christmas, so who knows? Christmas miracle might happen. Have you heard about Kirby the baby elephant? Say less. Let's check this out. What's Kirby the baby elephant? 314-pound baby. One of my favorite facts about baby elephants is that they weigh 300 pounds. God, look at him. 19 hours of labor. He's so fuzzy. Oh my God. Do we have any new updates? At the Houston Zoo. 21-month-long pregnancy? Damn, elephants are pregnant for 21 months. It took 19 hours to give birth. Hot damn. Elephants do actually have the longest gestation period of any animal. They are number one, 18 to 22 months. Number two, manatees. Number three, camels, 13 to 15 months. Giraffes, 13 to 15 months. The velvet worm. 15 months. Ugh. Rhinoceros, 15 to 18 months. Walruses, 15 to 16 months. Whales and dolphins, they take forever. 17 to 19 months. Salamander. Their pregnancies can last from 2 to 3 years. Donkey? 14 months? I want a donkey. I'm gonna go stir up my chicken broth real quick. I'm making some chicken stock on the stove, and I want to go give it a little stir because it's been simmering for a while, and I need to go give it a little one of these. I'll be right back though. It'll just take me a minute. So hang out with this sleeping cat. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go give this a stir. Be right back. so ridiculously good in our kitchen right now. It smells so good out there. I just walked out there. I opened up the office door and I could smell that chicken stock simmering, and I'm like, oh my god, it smells so good. It smells delicious. It smells really good out there. So yeah, I'm practicing a new technique for making chicken stock. Roasting the bones first. I keep all of my like chicken scraps, my chicken bones, all that stuff from whatever I do chicken. Because normally I'll get like a whole chicken, or I'll get some bone in, skin on chicken, and then I'll like cut the bone out. Anyway, I had some chicken bones and stuff, and I roasted them in the oven before I started making the chicken stock out of them. Because that's how you make like a dark chicken stock. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a hell of a soup. He's changed our dynamic over a video game and is unwilling to offer anything to repair it. And he's not equipped. He's a young dude. He just doesn't have the skills yet. So what I would say is you learn the skills and then model those skills for him. Sometimes the best way to get somebody to learn something is to just be a good role model and then let them pick it up on their own, rather than trying to demand that they learn it right here, right now. In learning, you will teach, and in teaching, you will learn. You just decided on the problem and got rid of it / me. And in reality, you aren't the problem. So like, if there's somebody who's like, hey, there are ants in this kitchen. And then they're like, can you stop talking about the ants? Can you stop bringing drama? Can you stop reminding me that there's a problem? Sometimes if you're the person who reminds somebody or makes somebody aware of a problem, they treat you as if you are the problem. You know, shooting the messenger. It kind of just sounds like this guy has some growing to do. He's just got some learning and some growing to do, so try our best to be helpful. All right, gotta get back to these questions. We got a lot of questions to do today. It's Q&A day. Let's get back to it. I'm 32 and the topic of age came up at work. I was talking to a couple of 28-plus-year-old people. I said that a 24-year-old is like a baby to me. Is that offensive? No, I'm not offended. I think the same thing. I'm at the point now where it's like people under 30 feel like babies to me. And if you are under 25, 26 years old, you are a baby to me. I see you as a... And I remember being young and being told that by older people, and I remember how annoying it was, but I don't think I was ever really genuinely offended by it. I swear I'm not one of those people who's mad at kids these days. I was just joking around. Yeah, I don't think anybody took it that seriously. That's a pretty harmless thing to say. So I think you're good. I don't think if people really did take that too seriously, I would be kind of like, you know. Every day I wake up not wanting to do anything. The best part of the day for me is bedtime. I wish I could sleep for months. What can I do to feel at least a little bit of desire to live? This sounds like depression to me. Have you ever talked to anybody about being, have you ever talked to anybody about these feelings that you're having? What are some things that are meaningful to you? What are some things that you want to do in this life? What kind of goals are we looking for? Sometimes you need rest. This is true, but, we don't want to sleep our lives away. It's very cat-like of us. So the question is, what can I do to feel at least a little bit of desire to live? That is a question that you are going to have to find out the answer to. It's not really a question that I can just tell you the answer to. I could give you ideas, I could give you suggestions. How about I share with you what I clung to when I felt that way? When sleeping was the thing that I looked forward to the most. The desire to be better, the desire to heal, the desire to build a better life for myself. Even if I wasn't sure how to make that happen, I was committed to that process. No matter how long it was going to take. It could take the rest of my life, I was going to do it. I was going to get better. I was going to heal. So, do you want to feel better? If you do want to feel better, start thinking about what it would be like to feel better. What would you be doing if you did feel a little bit better? Just focus on that next little step. What are some small little things that we can do that can move us in that direction? We're going to take baby steps at first. And then once you start to gain some momentum, that's when you really start moving. That's when you really start taking those big steps. But we're not here to take big steps right now. We're going to start with a little bit. So what's something that you can do to remind yourself that you've got your back? What's something that you can do to show yourself that you care about yourself? So if there's anything I can do to help you figure out the answers to that question, I'm here. Feel free to talk about that with us. The fact that you took the time to type this question out, the fact that you took time to reach out, that does show to me that there is a part of you that does want to get better, that does want to change. So that's the part of you that you're going to need to start listening to really closely so that you can figure out what that next step is. Option 2, get a cat. That's option 2. Why do you think men are right-leaning politically? What draws them in? Well, alright, here we go. I believe that a part of the reason why men are trending to the right is because other men are telling them that it's what they should do. That's my simplest explanation for why that's happening. We have a lot of young men who are being told that men are under attack, and that society hates men, and we need to band together, and we need to return things to the way that they were because we're men. The answer to the question of why do young men do a lot of what they do is, the answer to that question is old men want them to be doing it. Older men put a lot of time and effort and money into manipulating younger men to follow certain trends or to believe certain ideas, because those beliefs prop up and support those older men who are profiting off of the grift of manipulating these younger men. So, what do we do about it? By supporting and encouraging more, left-leaning men that can act as role models for these younger men. What draws them in is the promise of power and authority and financial success and, a partner. That's the appeal. They want to return to that, 1950s America ideal of, I go to work, I make all the money, you stay at home, you raise the children, you make all of my food, you know. Because the truth of reality is that it's a lot easier to convince someone that someone else is actually responsible for their problems instead of promoting accountability to that person and having them, actually own up to the things that they are doing. And this is something that you see going on here. Like, no, men, you shouldn't be more emotional. You shouldn't be more open and empathetic. You should be like men should be. You should be stoic and like a rock. And women need to listen to you. That's what they're being told. They're like, no. Don't be open. Don't be vulnerable. It's just a way to manipulate men. If you see men teaching other men that no one cares about them, or you see men teaching other men that, you need to be stone-faced, you need to be stoic, you need to not express your emotions, that person is trying to manipulate men. Because that is one of the ways that you manipulate people. You convince them that their emotions and their feelings and their concerns do not matter. I intervened with my nephew when he started looking up to Jake Paul, had to tell him he's rich but not a good person and why. That guy literally just gets paid to be the biggest asshole in the world. Like, that's literally his whole shtick. Is like, how big of a piece of a shit can I be? Because when you're the world's biggest piece of shit, people will pay admission to come see you. If you're the world's biggest turd, people are going to buy tickets. And that's Jake Paul. So yeah, I think that a lot of men see the appeal in a right-leaning politics because, you know, it offers them power and prestige. It says, you know, yeah, men run the show. We should be in charge. And for young men, that sounds radical, dude. So yeah, it's frustrating and it sucks, but I'm just going to continue to be an alternative to that. I'm going to continue to try my best to be a good role model for men in a more progressive space. This might be just a lot of rambling, but anyway. I'm going to be going to college next year for the first time, and I'm so nervous. Congratulations on going to college. That's exciting. I struggle a lot with any kind of relationship because of how insecure I am. I'm going to be mingling with new people, and part of me still doesn't feel like I'm ready. You're not going to feel like you're ready. Not to get ahead of myself, not to spoil anything, but I just want to let you know that you are never going to feel ready. At least not 100% ready. This is one of those things where you have to immerse yourself in that situation and then try your best and then see what worked, see what went wrong, and then grow and adapt and become more comfortable. That's how it's going to work. But you're never going to feel 100% ready. At least not right now, but you can learn to feel more ready. I feel like I'm not capable of having good conversations the way I used to. I'm just like a bitch. Why do you overthink everything? And I go quiet, even with my current friends I have now. It makes me feel so boring. I like my friends I have now, but I've just been itching to get away from my boring hometown and meet new people, but I just don't feel worthy of having new connections, and I can't open up the way I used to and connect with others. I'm just struggling a lot socially right now and feel like an anxious mess. I would really appreciate any advice. Thanks for reading my yap. My advice? Ask more questions. My advice is to ask people questions about themselves. Show interest. Learn about them. Show them that you care and that you want to get to know them. That will take you very far socially. People won't think you're boring if you show interest in them. They will think that you are interesting by showing interest in them. They'll be like, wow, who's this person? Wow, who's there? It's honestly so easy to do once you realize what the objective is. If you want people to see you as a very sociable person, you don't have to say a word about yourself. You just have to ask people to talk about themselves. And I know, we want people to know us, but there's a time and a place for that. It doesn't have to be right here, right now. It doesn't have to be at our first meeting. We can save that for later. A little bit of mystery. If you want people to perceive you as being a good socializer, just ask questions about themselves. Just show interest in them. Like, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. You know, even if they're just telling you about something that maybe you don't actually find it that interesting. Maybe you can, you know, for the sake of the conversation, you know, be interested in getting to know this person, learning their story, seeing where they come from. Maybe you can open up to being willing to just learn more about people. So that's my recommendation, especially going into college. And I can speak from experience that some of the most interesting people that I remember from college are the ones who actually showed interest in wanting to get to know me. It's not always about being the one who has the interesting stories or the jokes or the anecdotes or whatever. You know, there's a time and a place for that, and you'll figure that out. But in the beginning, I would strongly recommend to just smile, nod, listen, ask questions, show these people that you want to get to know them better. Talk about what excites them. Talk about what their favorite things are. What's your favorite food? What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite book? Ask them hypothetical questions, you know, thought-provoking questions. People will think that you're really cool if you do that. And you don't have to tell them a single thing about you. They'll think you're so cool and mysterious. They'll be like, wow, who is that person? I want to get to know them better. That's the secret. That's the technique. Just ask more questions. My core beliefs are totally pessimistic. All right, well, that doesn't sound fun. Just being honest. I don't think that you enjoy it either. My core beliefs are totally pessimistic, but they are based on a life where everything went wrong and on a world and a system that I find really terrible. I am unemployed and I feel like a nobody because I am in a system that you need to succeed. I'm reaching an age that people consider old and that I should be living a certain life. I don't believe in love. And yet you love yourself enough to share these feelings. Curious. Curious. You don't believe in love, and yet in doing this, you are showing yourself a little bit of love here. I just want to point that out to you. And actually taking time to open up and express your feelings. Even in this way, you know, putting them into words, that is an act of love. To seek understanding of the self is an act of love. Love is real. You might not see it, but I see it. I don't live in a safe place. I have suffered all kinds of disappointment and violence from people I trusted. How can I change such strong core beliefs if I really believe that I have reasons to be like this? Find reasons to be not like this. Give those beliefs times to change. Do you believe that these beliefs can change? If you believe that they can change, which I believe that they can change, I believe it's never too late. Some people have these realizations on their deathbed. Some people will go their entire life believing something, and then it's right when they're at the end, they're like, oh, I was mistaken. The fact of the matter is that you do have reasons to be like this, but you want to be different in spite of those reasons. Sometimes spite can be a powerful motivator. Sometimes spite can get you out of a hole. Just living to prove people wrong. So, how can you change these beliefs? By opening up to alternatives. What do you want to believe? What you want to believe matters in the outcome of what you actually do believe. You've suffered all kinds of disappointment and violence, and you've learned that you don't want any more of it and that you want something different. So what can we do to make that happen? What can we do to find that? You know, do we want to ruminate or do we want to find something new? I've always had therapy with women, but for some reason I feel better opening up to men. Is it something Freudian? But I've looked and I haven't found any male psychologists. I'm a little afraid of women. Haha. I'm a woman myself. Should I keep looking for a man? I feel like the therapies I did with women got stuck somewhere because of this, but I really didn't find any men, and I wouldn't open up about this in therapy. Ah, is this Freudian? Could be. Freud had a lot of ideas, and Freud had some ideas that were just kind of out there. But whether or not this is Freudian is beside the point here. What this is you say, I'm a little afraid of women. Now, if you were talking to Sigmund Freud, if you were to sit in his office and he said, come, sit down, tell me about your mother. Freud would say, the reason why you fear women is because you fear your mother. You are projecting the image of your matriarch onto other women, especially those in positions of power. That's what Sigmund Freud would say to you. You know, if you want the Freudian approach. That's what Freud would say. He would say that you feel uncomfortable and afraid around women and opening up to women because that's how your mom made you feel. That could be true, but it doesn't always have to be true. But that's what Freud would probably say. Freud was very big into, like, the role that your mom and your dad play in your development and the way that you approach men and women growing up. And there is a lot of truth to be found there, but it's not always true. And the thing that Freud was pretty like, oh yeah, that's always true. But what we've learned is that, you know, it's not always the case. Should you keep looking for a man? You could, if you feel like that would serve you better, but I would also say that talking about your concerns regarding women in therapy could give you an opportunity to work through them. So, like, I did therapy with people who didn't want to have a male therapist, and part of what we talked about in therapy was how they felt talking to men. You know, they kind of had a similar situation, but just inverted. And it was something that we were able to talk about, and we were actually able to work through it. Most therapists are women. Women outnumber men like 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 in mental health. So yeah, there are men out there who do therapy, but they might be a little less common. They are out there though. But I would say that talking about this with a therapist would also be a good way to possibly work through it, you know? If it's hindering your ability to open up in therapy, it's probably something that's pretty important to talk about in therapy. A lot of people have preferences regarding who they would want as a therapist, and that's totally fine. It's up to you. But it also gives you something to talk about. You could talk about why it is that you might seek someone else instead of them. But yeah, if you keep getting stuck in therapy, it's probably something that's pretty important to talk about in therapy because that might help you to get unstuck a little bit. So I would recommend giving that a try. Or keep looking for a guy. Whatever floats your boat, whatever you feel up to doing. I feel like both of them are fine. It's your choice. It's your choice. Talk to a woman therapist about why you feel like you have a hard time opening up to a woman therapist, or wait and find a male therapist. Either one works. It's your choice. We've got some more questions. Let's get back into it. How do you deal with internal conflicts between emotions that seem to want completely opposite things? Like when one part of you wants to rest, but another part keeps saying you're lazy and need to do something productive. Or when you're trying to make a decision and one emotion is screaming for excitement while another is begging for safety. How do you navigate those inner battles without shutting down one side or getting stuck in decision paralysis? Is there a healthy way to mediate between them, or is it more about learning to live with the tension? Alright, this is what I would say. There's a phrase that they commonly use in recovery about making choices, because one of the things that addicts who are in recovery will commonly find themselves in is having these types of decisions that they need to make regarding their addiction. So they have one part of them that is, wanting to relapse, and another part of them that's wanting to stay sober. And so these types of internal conflicts are very common. We all experience them. But anyway, one of the things that they say in recovery is play that tape out. Where would that take you? Think about the choice that you're trying to make and play it out in your mind. See where it would take you. See how it would make you feel. And then do that for both. That'll help you to figure out which one you actually want to do. We don't have to shut one down. We don't have to say one is right and one is wrong, because there's probably a little bit of a mix. Something like none of them are perfect. Like one of them might seem a bit better. One of them might seem a little bit more reckless, but play it out. Think about it. If I chose option A, what would happen? What would that look like? How would that make me feel? Do it again for option B. Weigh out the pros and cons. So I think the way forward is to learn a healthy way to mediate. I don't think that it's like learning to live with tension is important, because sometimes in life we encounter tension and there's just not really much we can do about it. And so learning how to live with it can be helpful. But we don't need to live under a constant state of tension. That's just going to make us very stressed. So I think the best thing to do is to learn how to mediate. Try to take a step back from it. Weigh out your options. Give yourself some patience, take the time you need to make that choice. There's no rush. And just weigh it out. Pros and cons, both sides. Why am I wearing my hat like this? To mess with you. To cover my big head. Questioner, one of my favorite things to do when I find myself at a crossroads, when I'm trying to decide between different things, just take a moment to meditate on it. And this is where meditation can be really helpful as a skill, is it can really help you to weigh out these types of choices and to figure out that best next step forward. My brain is swelling, it's true. With every question, my brain grows just a little bigger. Whenever I hit 5,000, I'm gonna look like Megamind. Right now, we're at 4,262 questions. One more part of this question I want to touch on before I move on. How do you navigate those inner battles without shutting down one side or getting stuck in decision paralysis? Don't forget to breathe. Breathe slowly, breathe in a relaxed way. Just recognize, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to weigh out my options. I'm going to take a look at both choices, and I'm going to make a choice. Let's see which one is better. And you know what? Even when you do this, you still might make the wrong choice from time to time. And you know what? That's fine. That happens. But what's important is that we can learn from those decisions and we can learn from those mistakes so that we can continue to grow. Hello. Do you know how to change relationship attachments to healthy ones instead of malformed? Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about attachment styles real quick. This is something we talk about from time to time. So, let's take a look at an article. We're taking a look at an article because this is our most recent question in the question box, so we've got time. All right. So, you're looking to change your attachment style. You're looking at changing from a insecure attachment style to a more secure attachment style. This is a good thing. This is a noble pursuit. And yes, it actually is possible. It just takes mindfulness, it takes work. So, your attachment style is something that forms pretty early in your life. The attachment that you have to your parents or your caregivers kind of sets the mold for the way that you attach to people later in life. So, if you have a strained relationship or you feel, like you have an avoidant or an anxious or an insecure attachment style with, your parents and caregivers, that can translate into a attachment issue later on in your life. And so yes, it is possible to change your attachment style. So let's talk about how we do it. Your attachment style has everything to do with your level of avoidance and your level of anxiety. And this is how you figure out what your attachment style is. How avoidant are you? And how anxious are you? If you are low avoidance, low anxiety, that is a secure attachment style. So this is what we're looking for here. We're looking to lower our anxiety and lower our avoidant behaviors. Now, what are avoidant behaviors? Avoidant behaviors doesn't just mean physically avoiding people, although that is one way to do it. Avoidance can also be, I'm not going to talk about this. I'm going to leave. I'm going to go to bed. Avoidance could also be walking away, shutting down discussions, avoiding things. I can't talk about this right now. I gotta go to work. So, this is what we're looking for. We're looking to decrease our avoidance and decrease our anxiety. This is how we form more secure attachments. So, what we need to do first off is we need to really understand what our attachment style is currently if we are wanting to change it. How avoidant are we? How anxious are we? It's really helpful to talk to somebody about this because they can offer you a non-biased outside perspective. If we're only doing self-assessment, we might miss some details, we might overlook some things. When I feel emotions, I'm like, I'm losing control. Then turn up the music and start dancing. Let loose. There's a time and a place to lose control, and that's on the dance floor, partner. So turn that music up and boogie. Sometimes humans have this innate need to just lose control. Anxious and avoidant attachment styles are pretty common. They estimate, I don't know how they got this number, I don't know where this data came from, but they estimate that approximately 50% of people have a secure attachment style. Which, I don't know, that could be right. So, something that could be helpful is to just become more aware of what your attachment style is. They have tests online you can take, you can talk to somebody about it, you could see a counselor or a therapist to talk about it and work on it. But you want to understand where you're at so that you can have a better sense of direction in getting where you're trying to go. So let's say you're trying to form, and I'm not going to go into all of the different attachment styles. I want to talk about what we can do to change our styles. Changing your attachment style and healing will require healing your shame and raising your self-esteem. This will enable you to not take things personally. You will need to learn how to be assertive. You will need to learn how to identify, honor, and assertively express your emotional needs. You will need to risk being authentic and direct. Don't play games or try to manipulate your partner's interest. You need to practice acceptance of yourself and others to become less fault-finding. You need to stop reacting. And what we mean by stop reacting is being emotionally reactive in the way that we currently are. We need to identify our triggers and our responses, and we need to start working to change those. So if we're in a situation where it's like, uh-oh, we need to talk about something, and we would historically be avoidant, we need to stop reacting in that way. We need to change those behaviors. We need to intervene. Identify your triggers and unhook what causes them. We also need to learn how to self-soothe. We need to learn how to be an emotional support to ourselves instead of just relying on other people to emotionally support us. There's a lot of great resources out there that can help you to become a better nurturer of yourself. And lastly, practice conflict resolution techniques. Appreciate a compromise. Start looking at a we perspective. So yes, changing your attachment style is possible. It takes work, but it's meaningful work. You're literally changing the way that you attach to other people. It can change your entire life. You can have much more deep and fulfilling and meaningful relationships by changing the way that you attach with people. So yes, definitely worth the effort. Definitely worth the work. And see, here's the thing. It's always going to be a work in progress. You're never going to be perfect. Nobody's a perfect attacher. Even though they say that 50% of people are secure in their attachments, that doesn't mean that they don't have insecurities. It doesn't mean that they don't have their own issues. It just means that we generally say, like, okay, this person is fairly secure. So yeah, wanting to change your attachment styles is a really noble thing to do. It might take a little while to get the hang of, but it's meaningful work, and you can start to notice progress, even without being perfect. It's about getting better. It's not about being perfect. What do you think of the ideal parent figure protocol, if you've already heard of it? The ideal parent figure protocol? I'm gonna have to look this up. I have an idea of what this might be, but I'm gonna look this up because Sounds interesting. I've done a few of these meditations on YouTube and I start crying profusely. Some of it feels good, as it should be the intention of that, but it also touches a very sensitive area that I don't know if it's good to mess with too much. There are people who say they do this for months, years, and feel cured. Could it be good? Could it be harmful? I wouldn't have one. Mediator to do just by the videos and audios. The ideal parent figure protocol. This sounds like inner child work. This also sounds like, you know, a way to do some deep healing. The reason why these areas are sensitive and, you know, stressful to approach or open up or talk about is because those are where your deepest wounds are. That's where a lot of your trauma sits. In many ways, one of the important things about being healed is becoming the person that you needed, the responsible adult that you lacked as a child, so that you can be that person for yourself today and heal those old wounds. My conservative aunt wants to have a deep talk about why I'm liberal, and thank God we didn't have that talk today. You know what I would have done? I would have been like, actually, you're mistaken. I would have pretended to, like, if I'm gonna talk... You know what my favorite strategy is when talking to people who are not the same political viewpoint of me? I pretend that I am their political viewpoint, and then I start wheedling things in to open them up to a more progressive viewpoint. I meet people where they're at, and then I reel them in. Because a lot of those ideas are actually tremendously popular, but there's a lot of like fear-mongering and misinformation that surrounds those things. I've said this before, but when I grew up, my emotions and really existence were problematic for my caretakers. So I didn't really learn proper emotional communication and processing because it wasn't necessary. It was necessary. It was necessary. That's why it's important to do now, is because you were lacking it then. Yes, but not in my family structure. Alright, well then how about in your internal family system? You're trying. And we're proud of you for trying. Keep up the good work. It's never too late to download that DLC. I've only made actual progress in the past year, and you spent all those previous years getting ready to make that progress. And I say that because I don't want you beating yourself up because you feel like you wasted time or something. It's like, no, you were getting ready. You were preparing. Whether or not you realize it. The ideal parent figure. Alright, explain it. What are the 5 qualities of secure attachment? Okay, so this is about developing a more secure attachment. Okay, this ties into that previous question. Secure attachment, which is crucial for a child's development, depends on 5 conditions in the caregiver-child relationship. These conditions, when replicated in our relationships, promote healing and growth. They include safety and protection, attunement, being fully seen and known, reassurance and soothing, expressions of delight, unconditional support and encouragement. The IPF protocol leverages the unconscious mind's inability to differentiate between real and imagined images. Patients imagine themselves as children with ideal parents, creating nurturing scenarios. This practice helps reverse the impact of a difficult childhood, aiding in self-compassion and emotional healing. The imagery, originating from the patient's imagination, establishes a support system stronger than any parent or therapist can offer. Okay. I can understand the logic behind this, and I get it. I understand the logic behind this, but this just also sounds to me like, you are becoming that person for yourself. That's kind of what I think is important to do, is to become that person in your life, that person that you needed when you were young. The whole idea of like imagining having ideal parents, I'm like, yeah, sure, that could work. Just a different approach. The same end goal. The same end goal here, is to encourage all of these things. Interesting. While relatively new, the Ideal Parent Figure Protocol has shown promising results in improving life quality for those affected by childhood trauma and CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress. The difference between CPTSD and PTSD is time. CPTSD is an ongoing situation where you feel trapped and you are unable to leave. Like it's at home and you have no option, you are stuck there, you cannot leave. Interesting. Yeah, it could work. There's lots of things that can work. There's not one guaranteed way that works for everybody, but this sounds like, yeah, this could be effective for some people. Absolutely. Sure. It's probably not what I would do, because I don't know. I don't know. It's like if I was trying to help somebody to like learn how to become that person for themselves, I don't know if I would be like, all right, now pretend you're a child and pretend that you have the ideal parents. What are they like? What would they be doing? Let's rewire yourself. Let's imagine a scenario and then, break free from those existing things. I like to do inner child work. I think it offers a tremendous potential for healing, especially from trauma that happened early on in life. But what I like to do is be the adult and the child. I'm not just imagining this parent, this person, this ideal figure that I needed when I was young. I am that person. And because of what I went through and because of what happened, I was able to learn how to become this person that I am today. I feel like that's a really powerful way to like move past things and to heal from things, is to recognize is that the hardships that I have endured have helped to shape me into the person that I am today. Try not to waste any time ruminating. You know? We can't change what has happened, we can only change how we respond to what has happened. You can't know how it wouldn't have been otherwise and it wouldn't matter. Oh yeah, absolutely. See, like, part of the reason why I would be reluctant to do this approach is because, in my mind, if I had an ideal parent, who knows how I could have turned out? I could have turned out to just be some entitled, self-centered, narcissistic, like, who knows? You know? Like, sometimes having a parent that's like, you might end up being codependent. Like, there's all sorts of different things that could go wrong. It's really difficult to raise a child because it's like too much can do damage and too little can do damage. I think it's good to identify how your parents sold you short. Oh, absolutely. And that's a great place to start, is to recognize this is the way that your needs were not met. So what can you do to help yourself meet those needs today? That's what I like to do. I like to empower a person. Like, you are that adult now. You are that person that you needed when you were young. It's like, what do I want to do with this life that I have right here in front of me, instead of dreaming for a life that does not exist? So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as far as that protocol goes. It's like, okay, I could see how that could be useful. I could see how that could be helpful for some people, but no approach is guaranteed to work with every single person. And some people just, you have to alter your, you have to change your techniques. The oven? Oh, you turned the oven off? The oven is supposed to be off. Oh, I mean, unless Casey turned it on. Casey might have turned the oven on. I didn't turn the oven on. That must have been her. What's the deepest advice you could give someone first that comes to mind? All right. First thing that comes to mind is this. Other people will never know who you truly are. So we don't need to care so much about what people think about us because they don't know us truly. They will never, see the world from our point of view. They will never think the way that we think. They can only take a guess. And so free yourself from the judgment and criticism of others, especially if these are people that you would not go to for advice. If you would not go to someone for advice, do not take their criticism. Also, you've got to feel it to heal it. Another thing that comes to mind, it kind of ties into like optimistic nihilism. It's like, in the grand scheme of things, I am dust. The atoms in my body will spend much longer as dust than they will as me. And so, in the grand scheme of things, it's like, why should I feel stressed about something that is so insignificant? It's like, just learning how to let things go. Just to recognize impermanence. We can find freedom in that. Nothing matters, so make the best of it. Try to have some fun. You are the byproduct of over 1 billion years of evolution. Embrace it. You are the most highly evolved being on this planet. Own it. You don't need loneliness. You don't need fear. Focus on the things you love and start expanding it. Go deeper and deeper into that love. Because that's what really matters. Within our lives, one of the biggest factors over whether or not something does or does not matter is whether or not you choose for it to matter to you. And there is choice to be found there. There is choice to be had. So try not to spend too much time and energy on stuff that just might not matter in the long run. Don't sweat the small stuff. And it's all small stuff. All right. How are we doing, everybody? How are we doing? We hanging in there? I have more. I have so much unsolicited advice to give. Like, it's okay to be silly. It's okay to not take yourself so seriously. I know. Everything is impermanent. We only have one life to live. We need to be all business all the time. But if you don't take time to have fun, you know, take the long way home, take the scenic route, that's what life's all about. How to stop taking myself too seriously. Go in the bathroom, stare at yourself, and do this. Ha 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 ha! Look at him. He thinks everything is so serious. Look at him. Ha 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 ha! Just go get a good laugh at yourself. Give that a try. Like, that's something I found to be tremendously helpful in dealing with feelings of anger, is to notice those feelings as they start to bubble up within you, and then laugh at yourself for getting so angry about something that's so inconsequential. Just be like, oh, that's actually kind of funny. It's like, haha, you're mad. Except at yourself. Oh, hi, dogs. Do we need to go outside? We had a good nap. I got the dogs in here with me and they just woke up from their nap. So I'm about to go let them outside. Thanks again for the stream. Oh, you are so welcome. You know, one last chance to subscribe. I haven't really done much shilling today. It's been almost 4 hours and I haven't shilled one single time. If you like this content, if you like this community, consider supporting by subscribing, or if you are in a tight spot and can't afford to sub right now, that's okay. Consider begging for a sub. That also works. That's what I like to do. I go into all my friends' chats and I beg for subs there because it feels We had another question pop up. What makes you happy? Lots of things. This is a list that I'm always adding to. You should have a list inside your mind, or maybe a list on a piece of paper. Who knows? Whatever works for you. Have a list of things that make you happy. Keep adding to it. The more the better. What makes me happy? Love makes me happy. The people in my life that I care about, they make me happy. My cats, my dogs. You all make me happy too. Once you start counting your blessings, that's when you really start to appreciate just how many you've got. Who's snoring in the mic? That's Scout. This dog will stare at you. She makes unwavering eye contact. It's kind of unusual. Hi, Scout. So she's not a great cuddler. She likes to push and kick and poke at you. She doesn't really like to just actually cuddle, but she's learning. Oh, hi, baby. There you go. Oh, thank you for headbutting me. Sugar Biscuit, thank you for gifting that sub to Ganjolf the Zooted. Scout, do you have any advice? What makes you happy? Scout, tell them. What makes you happy? What makes you happy? Tell them. Tell them. What makes you happy? Tell them. Now you got nothing to say? She's thinking. Oh, okay. You're not gonna share with the class? Okay, I see how it is. Scout, you unplugged my earbuds. I need my headphones back. There we go. She unplugged me. There we go. Scout, what makes you happy? She says, food. Food makes her happy. That's a good answer, Scout. Thank you for sharing. She also says blankets and pillows make her happy. She likes to be comfy.
Now, to end, I'd like to share this quote from Alan Watts. And this kind of ties into, the questions I was asked before, like, what's some deep advice you have, or what's something that makes you happy? I think back to this quote. We thought of life by analogy, with a journey, a pilgrimage, which had a serious purpose at the end. And the thing was to get to that end. Success, or whatever it is, maybe heaven after you're dead. But we missed the point the whole way along. It was a musical thing, and you were supposed to sing or dance while the music was being played. Another really simple quote that I like to live by comes from a Ram Dass speech or meditation, whatever. Anything you don't need, you can let go of. Alrighty, everybody. I'm gonna go let these dogs out, and I gotta go run up to the grocery store real quick because I need to get something to finish my soup. I need to go get some noodles. Also, we need some more coffee. We're out of coffee. So, anyway, thank you all for being here. I had a great time hanging out with you all. Thank you for all those questions. We'll be back again for another Q&A tomorrow. We're gonna do another Q&A session tomorrow, so we'll be back. Anyway, until then, feel free to come hang out in the Discord if you want to come chat and hang out with us. Until then, we'll see you all next time. Take good care of yourselves, everybody. And we'll see you next time. All right, bye, everybody. See you later. Also, don't forget your homework. We do tomorrow. All right, Atticus, I'm coming. I hear you. Here, Atticus, make that sound again so that they can hear you. What was the homework again? Be kind to yourself. Show yourself some compassion. Maybe sing a little bit. All right, see y'all.